Hello Flickering Myth family and welcome to our channel. My name is EJ and in this video we are going to be discussing The Flash. The latest DC film is about to hit theaters and I have a full breakdown of why I think this is a perfect love letter to all things DC, and that includes the work of Zack Snyder. This movie has a lot going on in it. There's a lot in this movie and we will discuss it right now. Crafting a love letter to DC is quite the daunting task. Where do you begin? Do you do the comic books? Do you do the classic 1940s serials? Do you just go straight up to the Tim Burton route? There's a lot to do for this. DC is a brand that has so much going on for it. If you're a DC fan, you know you have to stretch yourself thin. You have to play the video games, read the comic books, the animated series, the movies that are set within different multiverses in a different multiverse. And don't forget the CW shows. Wow, there's a lot to being a DC fan, but I feel like The Flash wraps all of that up in a perfect ball and just feels like a love letter to why we love DC. Now, this doesn't mean you have to love every DC movie that's ever come out. Some of y'all could just straight up be Christopher Nolan fans that love that Batman era and have never found your DC again. But for me, I've been a DC fan since I was a little kid. I was raised on that Tim Burton 1989 and then Batman Returns in 92 or 93, always forget, I think it's 93. Yeah, I loved those films. They were really formative years for me. And then I loved, Batman Forever, Batman and Robin. I ended up seeing the Christopher Reeve Superman movies. All of that feels like it's being paid respect to here. But where I really fell in love with modern DC is the Zack Snyder era. I know I'm a Zack Snyder fan. I'm not one of those people online. Trust me, I'm not going to yell at you. If you don't like him, I get it. I'm fine. I know. I'm a Batman v Superman defender. I've paid for my sins for liking that movie. But yeah, I love that this movie feels like it has all of that DC love wrapped up. It still wants to continue slightly what Zack Snyder's doing. You could definitely tell that they removed some things that they were supposed to have to maybe continue it, to make it go further. But it feels like it loves the Zack Snyderverse, but it also wants to branch out into a different thing. What I was worried it was this movie was going to be DC's Rise of Skywalker, a movie that was just like, hey, everything you saw that last time, forget about it. We're just going to completely straight up disrespect it, disregard it, so we can go back to what the fans want. This doesn't do that. I was worried it was going to be like, remember how Superman handled Zod? Well, we're going to redo all that. Nah, Supergirl beat Zod's ass again. Maybe not the ending that Zod had in Man of Steel, but we saw violence. We saw anger. We saw a lot of different emotions from these characters. It's not just the one note, oh, Flash is a quirky, fun running guy. Superman's a very strong, formative foe, but is a chipper person. Batman, is Batman. No, all these characters have different points of view, different walks of life, but they have a common thread. All three of these main characters, Supergirl, Batman, and Flash, are orphans who have no family, no real connection. So there's a good connection between our three characters that really feels like the through line through this movie. I had a good experience watching this, all the, the crazy homages, but what really worked for me is the Flash itself. Take away all the love letter to DC. Take away that crazy multiverse speed force moment where we saw a lot of cameos and a lot of oh my god moments. Remove that aside, and the core of this movie, I still enjoy that. Barry Allen is trying to figure out his place in the world. It's hard because, he's trying to get work done, but he's also getting called on secret missions to help Batman, save a bunch of babies. Literally, the baby opening of this movie had me dying. The visual effects of this whole thing are a bit wonky, but the babies in this beginning just legit had me laughing, and I should be like, oh, I hope Flash saves all these small children, but I was just like, oh my goodness, put that baby in a microwave. It was just such a funny, humorous thing. The humor, we'll talk about some of my negatives in the next section. We'll talk about that. But yeah, overall, I like this opening. So we're seeing that Barry is conflicted. He's trying to find a job, trying to be a superhero, but also still trying to save his father, who has been he believes wrongly accused of killing his mother. This is a hard moment for him. There's so much he wishes he can change. But what if he could change things? What if the Flash could go back in time and change his mother from dying and save his father from going to prison? That is what Barry tries to do. Even, Batfleck is just like, No, like these tragedies define us. If you just saw Across the Spider-Verse, these canon events, these are what happened to us to make us us. We cannot change these. As much as we think it's hurt us, it is not. It has built us to who we are. So yeah, we're having all these people say, hey Barry, just live your life. You know, his dad especially is just like, move on. But he cannot move on. He moves backwards, which causes him to move sideways to a different multiverse. Yes, Barry tries to run to the speed, run in the Speed Force, do what he needs to do, and a dark, mysterious force pushes him out of the Speed Force into a different universe. What universe is this? I don't even know how to describe it. There's no metahumans at this moment. You know, Barry cannot find any, but there's also a different Batman. There's also, we run into two Barrys, because, you know, the Barry of this timeline. Yeah, there's a lot happening. Like, once, you know, the Snyderverse Prime Barry enters this new timeline, it shifts everything. We meet our new Batman, who is played by Michael Keaton, returning from the Tim Burton era, but we also have Sasha Calle, who is playing Supergirl. They think that they need a super person to help Zod. Yes, this is the moment. Zod is here to attack all of us. You know it from Man of Steel. He's here to terraform the Earth. That is happening at this moment in this universe, and they need a super person, but they have to find Supergirl instead of Superman. Very Flashpoint, you know, very weak and emaciated. Finds that son and kicks some ass. Yeah, the very basic plot of this really works for me. Barry needs to fix the timeline. Barry has another Barry to help them. We also have Supergirl and Batman. But what can he do? Can he fix what's already been started? A simple, easy premise. I know, not that simple, not that easy, but for me, I understood exactly. I liked it. I was really involved in this Barry story. I felt for him. Like, it's the same story that happens in Spider-Verse. It happened in No Way Home. All these multiverse stories always makes you question, if you can change something, would you? And I think that is such a good quandary. And I think that's why we're in our multiverse era right now, with every universe, everything everywhere all at once. Everything is trying to do a multiverse story because there's a good emotional core into it. Would you change something, and what would it do? You know, the butterfly effect, all that jazz. I think that's great. And I think that's what carries this film. Ezra Miller's performance as Barry, it's great. You feel every emotion. Now, there's a sillier Barry. The jokes don't joke for me. Sorry, you know, it's a personal preference. Again, I'll talk about my negatives in the next section, but I thought the acting was great. Keaton was good. I could have still used this Batman as a different, you know, you could have kept Affleck, maybe make him a little bit different. I don't know. The Keaton stuff was nostalgic for me, but it was just like, oh, cool, Michael Keaton's back. Look at you kicking ass. I'm glad you're here. Like, it didn't have the, oh my God, I thought it was going to have for me, but it was still pretty effective. Sasha Calle as the new Supergirl, great, fun. She doesn't have a lot to do, but she's very heartfelt here. Very feels in the same family as Henry Cavill, which, controversy, who knows? I don't know, but I like the relation that I felt between these two super people. And look, I don't know, the whole movie was just a lot, and then it gets crazy and crazier and crazier, but it's not perfect. There are some things that hinder this movie from being like an oh my god, like 5 out of 5 experience for me. There is some wonky CGI. Now, there is like an aesthetic choice when Barry is running the Speed Force. Everything looks so fake and cartoony and a little rubbery. I actually like the Speed Force aesthetic. I thought it was very like manipulative, like something about it felt rubbery, so maybe we could stretch them as we were altering the universe. But there were some times outside of the Speed Force that I was just like, baby, that's a CGI person. Baby, that's not a real thing. But again, it's not the worst visual effects I've ever seen. I've seen worse DC movies. I've seen worse Marvel VFX. I've seen worse blockbuster ones. But I thought sometimes the aesthetic choice made it feel too aesthetic-y, too cartoony, too outlandish, where I wasn't really connecting. Speaking of too cartoony, sometimes the humor in this movie is broad and big. Ezra delivers the lines that were needed to be delivered very well, but since we have two Barrys, one who is a bit newer to this Flash world, who's a bit goofier, a bit more, you know, stoner, mushroom kind of kid, that one is a little too much for me. I like our prime Snyderverse Barry. Great, good humor, good moments, good heart, good all that. The other Barry is a little too goofy, and then stops being a little goofy and starts getting a little crazy. That was fun. That was at least a different change. But again, I like where these characters are going. It's just sometimes the humor, I'm like, ugh. And then, boy, when we want to do nostalgia, we stop and pause when Batman's like, I am Batman. Now, everyone stop for the applause in the audience. Very No Way Home. Like, if you watch Spider-Man No Way Home at home, it will literally feel like they go, and now here's Tobey Maguire. Everyone pause to clap in the audience. Yay. That has the same effect here, where it's definitely built for a theatrical experience with a bunch of fans. It could hinder it a little bit, the let's get nuts line, all that. You're like, oh, okay, cool. Those are just some of my small complaints. The humor, the visual effects, they just didn't connect all that well. There's also one thing that is a bit slightly spoiler. I had originally heard what the end credit scene was going to be, or how this movie was going to end. It's changed. That's the only time I feel that it was a disrespect to Snyder. There was definitely intentions to keep this attached to a loose Snyderverse of maybe we can return to it one day in a Crisis on Infinite Earths kind of vibe. They definitely were like, no. Maybe later, sure, maybe we'll do this one day when James Gunn's, universe doesn't pan out or whatever's going to happen. But I was just like, I wanted you to leave the door open. The ending of this movie definitely made me go, what? In good and bad ways, but I was like, I feel like we could have kept the door open a bit better than what they tried to do, but I understand with the reboot happening and all that, what the hell are they going to do? It's a bit tricky. So yeah, again, small little complaints, but overall, I don't have a lot of complaints about this movie. With solid acting from our superhero lead characters and a really fun premise and some good heart and soul mixed with some humor and some really fun action. The final action scene and this trying to fight Zod area, pretty good, though we are so still paying for the Man of Steel sins. Every damn fight scene has to be in the middle of nowhere because we can't actually have casualties. Then people on the internet are going to complain. But again, other than these little tiny tweaks here and there, it was a good experience. For DC fans, this is what we've wanted for a long time. If you want to see me break down every major spoiler, every crazy cameo, let me know down in the comments below. There's a lot of cameos. There's a lot of nostalgic moments. There's a lot of DC ties that I have barely got into, so let me know what you think. If you want to see more, if you want to talk about The Flash, let me know down in the comments below. Subscribe to Flickering Myth and give me a thumbs up if you did enjoy. Alright everyone, let's talk about this movie right down here.